All right, how's it going, everybody? This is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We've got a Big Ten gamer to talk about for tonight. Bunch of good spots, and that should make for a pretty good slate. Contests are nice and big, and I'm joined by Nolan Kelly, which is always good. What's up, Nolan?
What's going on?
The usual, man. Just trying to lick my wounds from the last couple nights. It's been a rough start.
Oh
It's
yeah.
been a rough last couple days. Yeah. Yesterday was weird. Wasn't really a high scoring slate, but I did see some people in our subscriber chat had some success. So that's always nice. How did it turn out for you?
It's close, man. I had a little Vegas one, Colorado two action, and it was 20th in the big one, but just can't break through.
Nice. Yeah. Colorado 2 was solid. McKinnon was not really Nathan McKinnon. That game looked like
No,
it looked like it was going to explode a couple times. I was watching most of that Colorado Buffalo game, and ultimately they just couldn't really. The goalies played pretty well, I thought. So
yeah,
sometimes that happens, and I thought I'd be in a pretty good spot with all the Vegas. I woke up and they saw they won 3-0, and the goals were just random. So spread out night, and it wasn't terrible. I think I got back like 60 or 70% of my entry fees, so not the end of the world.
gonna
But
happen.
yeah. I mean, I'll take that as one of the worst nights of the week if we go week by week. We do have 10 games to talk about tonight. We do have I believe the live blog is supposed to be free today. Let me check on this and make sure that's correct. If not, I apologize for that. But the live blog is just it's a way to catch up on news, get potential edges, and just by getting the correct line combinations, it's kind of a piece where we all work on it throughout the day, and maybe catch some things that the lineup sites don't. So I don't know. Did you check on that? Did you see if it is indeed supposed to be free
I
today?
haven't, but you let me know and I'll make it free right
All right,
now.
I'll check it while in just a minute, and then I'll drop the link in chat if that is indeed correct. We're presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Yahoo is one of the most trusted names in fantasy sports, and they're bringing some pretty good contests out as always for NHL. Looks like they're filling up pretty fast. You're going to want to jump in these if you're planning on playing on Yahoo tonight. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. You could easily max out the $3 10 entry max. There's your $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points if you do sign up with our promo code NBA. Looks like it's also going to fill up about 2/3 full right now, and we're just under 3 hours away from lock. So use the tools on the site and go support Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. We also, I'm going to make sure to mention this at the end of the show, but we're doing a podcast giveaway. We're trying to push our podcasts because some people like listening to them in podcast form and don't want to see our beautiful faces. So what we have going on right now is kind of a two-step process. You subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and then you rate and review and put your username in or Twitter handle in the description, or the rating and the review, and then you'll be entered to win a free Osmo Plus monthly pass. So we'll be giving those away in the coming days, and Nolan has been pushing that as well as myself. So it's been pretty successful so far. So keep doing those, and you got a chance to win a free month of
Yeah, it helps us out a
my.
lot. We really appreciate it. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at last night. We had the $8 40K prize pool. The person who took this down was Dodgers Isles 3327. Just three lineups. Wasn't a great night for the MMEers up top. But this user had Malkin, Rust, Hornquist, Pittsburgh 2, full Colorado 2, and then Martinez and Shea Theodore, two defensemen from the same team, and as well as Fleury. So kind of an uncorrelated defenseman stack with Fleury in there. Did not correlate the goalie with the stacks, but did with the defenseman, obviously. Actually, it wasn't very uncorrelated because Martinez and Theodore do play on the same pairing, so I guess there's a chance that they could both
that's
score.
just been happening a lot lately, hey?
Yeah, Martinez has been really good coming over to Vegas, getting the points. And then you look at the salary that this person used, and it was about 3K left on the table, just 47,100. So I like doing that stuff on shorter slates, and it did work out for Dodgers Isles 3327. So congrats. Not sure I've heard that username before, but just three
Dodgers
lineups.
Isles.
Yeah, pretty.
True Brooklyn fan there.
Yeah, I guess so. My best lineup was in the top 10, I guess, but as you see, I didn't profit. So not the end of the world, but at least I had a chance to get up there if something broke my way. And then got a request to look at the FanDuel $4. I can't remember if this was the winner or what. FG Tompi we're going to go with. 135 lineups, not the full 150, cash 45 out of 150. And let's see what the lineup was. It was Colorado, line 2, and then Pittsburgh, line 2, it looks like. Malkin, Hornquist, Rust, Comfer, Donskoy, and Jost, Theodore, Schmidt, not Martinez, and Marc-Andre Fleury. 43.2 points. So nice job by that person taking it down over on FanDuel. You always leave salary on the table, whatever Yossi is priced at. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when he's getting zeros, basically just leaving 7K on the table. But not today, Seth. Not today. All right, let's talk about the actual games we've got going for today. Let's start with the New York Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens. 3 implied total for the Rangers, 3.4 for the Canadiens. Alexander Georgiev and Carey Price are your goalies. Do we see anything new here?
Yeah, it looks like Charles Hudon is up on the second line with Nick Suzuki and Joel Armia. Lehkonen down with actually this was the same last game. It was Evans, Weiss, and Lehkonen. And then I think nothing changes for the Rangers. Buchnevich is expected to be out again. All these lines look the same.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed one thing when looking through some of the game reports. This Domi line was really good in their last game, so maybe they can keep that going up against the Rangers' depth. Probably going to face off against the second and third line. The second line for the Rangers got absolutely caved by the Barzell line for the Islanders in the last game. And I don't think Islanders 1 did a ton of damage, but they had a really rough time with them. So, maybe not as good defensively as what I thought. And I'm really looking at this Domi line for an under-own stack of the night. I know it's not great power play correlation. Domi not listed on a power play. I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case. But I really like.
I think it's going over-owned though, according to our top stack tool.
Montreal 3. But what's over-owned? Like
5%, 4 or 5%.
I mean, I kind of still like it for 5%. I mean, I think it's more of
you
a
and Cliffy.
Line. What's that?
Said you and Cliffy, the Montreal 3 lovers here.
Yeah, I mean, if they're listed as the second line though, they're probably just as owned. So I think it's still a good play. And obviously, I like Montreal 1 as well.
I don't know about you, Jake, but I prefer putting good players on my team. So
as we all know, as the chat knows, I'm not above playing some bad players like Paul Byron and Jordan Wheel. So I like 1 and 3 here for Montreal. What do you think about that? And then do you like anything on the Rangers side?
Yeah, getting to a little Montreal 1 in my crunches so far. I didn't really have a hot take because I feel like I've been fading the teams against the Rangers a little bit of late. We've talked about it on previous shows, how their numbers aren't actually as bad since the new year. Partly I think due to just the fact that they're playing a lot better offensively as well. So no Buchnevich. I don't know if that hurts their upside, but I don't know. I feel like maybe teams are still targeting the Rangers a little bit too much just based on what they did earlier in the season, and they've been a lot better. So I'm maybe a little bit bearish on them.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly understandable. I think the thing, if you're playing the Rangers tonight, I would just be a little bit worried about Edel staying up on that top line. And so that's maybe it shouldn't be a concern, but it is a little bit of a concern of mine. And then I don't really like this depth for Montreal or for the Rangers. Without Buchnevich, they're just going to be even weaker in their forwards.
Are you upgrading the Rangers 2 a little bit?
Upgrading Rangers 2 for what reason? Yeah.
Just like maybe they're a little bit more. I noticed they got a little bit more ice time together with Buchnevich out.
Oh yeah, I mean that certainly could be. I mean I like the Strome Panarin fast line. people always leave off Jesper Foss. He's not great, but 3,500. They're just like if someone's just gonna leave guys off entirely, which seems to happen with some of these guys that aren't actually that terrible, and Foss is one of those guys, then I like to play the stack. So I kind of like where your head's at on Rangers too, especially if they're going to get a bump in ice time. They're probably not going to see much of the Danault, Tatar, Gallagher line, and so I think they've got a couple of things going for them if you're looking for a full line stack on the Rangers side. What
Also,
about?
it looks like I'm maybe like totally off. I don't know if I was looking at some faulty data or what, but the Rangers since February 1 are worst in expected goals against. I swear
Really?
we looked it up before and they were improved. No, am I
Maybe
just
they've
making
been
stuff
struggling
up?
the last few games. I mean, it's still
Yeah,
a relatively small sample, like 1 month. So
for sure.
a few terrible games, and all of a sudden you can find
I'm
yourself
gonna
about.
pull up the last 2 weeks here.
Sure.
Yep, there you go. That's what it is. They're at like 3.6 over the last 2 weeks. So disregard what I said earlier. Apologies. That's some bad advice, I think.
I feel like they haven't been getting completely blown up though, like we had
Yeah.
seen where they were just getting destroyed. I mean, their goalie's going to see a ton of shots. So if you want to play Georgiev, it's just whoever's in net for the Rangers always has upside when they're going to face this amount of volume, especially on DraftKings with a 35 save bonus. They're usually underdogs when they're on the road, so you're getting a really cheap goalie as well. Any defensemen we want to mention in this game?
I don't. Nothing really stood out. I'm sure that you could get into some into some Tony D'Angelo power play stacks or
Sure.
Shea Weber. I don't know what. I didn't get to anyone other than Brett Kulak, who seems to come up as a great value. Though, like I'm gonna have to manually take him down.
Yeah, I don't mind him as a value. I'd like to get to a bunch of Petrie at 5,100. The problem with Weber is just that he's on that second power play. Like he's probably got the most upside of like between him and Petrie, and he makes for a good one-off at 6,400. But if he's not going to get the like priority power play time, if he's not going to be on the Gallagher Tatar unit, then I have to at least take my foot off the gas a little bit on Shea Weber, even though he projects pretty well for us. So I like a bunch of these Rangers, these Montreal defensemen. Not really looking at too much on the Rangers side outside of the guy you mentioned, D'Angelo, and just a power play stack if you're going to Rangers 2 or something like that. Let's go to the Blackhawks and the Lightning. 2.6 implied total for the Hawks, 3.9 for the Lightning. Corey Crawford and Curtis McElhinney are your goalies, and it looks like we've got a pretty important game time decision on the Lightning.
Game time decision. I thought it was ruled out. Are you
Coleman,
talking about Blake Coleman? Ah,
is he ruled
yep.
out? We've got him as a game time decision.
No, Stamkos is ruled out.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, so Stamkos out, Palat up with Point and Kucherov, Coleman on a line with Chiarelli and Killorn if he goes. I don't know. What are you doing with that? Because I feel like, he's going to be sub 1% owned if he goes. It's not a bad spot to be. You might as well go overweight on Tampa 2 in a pretty good spot here. And then on the the Chicago side of things, everything looks the same.
Yeah, I think you might be getting Coleman at a pretty low percentage, maybe higher than what we have him. But people with game time decisions, they just disregard them, especially if you're making only a few lineups. People don't want to deal with that. They don't know where to get the
Especially because
lineups.
he's super expensive, the most
Yeah.
expensive he's been all year, right? So like naturally, people weren't going to play him to begin with. So
Yeah, so he might be out, he might not be, but I'm gonna crunch like he's in until I hear otherwise. And I think that would be a really good line to play, especially if you could get Coleman a little bit under owned. They're probably gonna go up against the Carpenter, Sod, and Kane line. They've been going with Torelli against opposing top competition, so that's usually the Kane line. It's probably a good matchup regardless of who they go up against. Point, Kucherov, and Palat. They're good. The problem is just, do you leave on Palat or do you look to power play stack this? So I might do a little bit of both, mix in Killorn in lieu of Palat in some of my lineups. But yeah, the Lightning, huge total, highest total on the slate. And it's going to be a good match whenever they're on the ice. I feel like I stack against Chicago as much as anyone. And it has not really been working out lately. They've been scoring goals against teams they shouldn't be scoring goals against, like St. Louis last game. So maybe they could do it here, but I'm pretty much off of Chicago entirely.
yeah, I'm right there with you. Anything more than like a contrarian play, it doesn't really seem to pop at all. Chicago's still been really bad defensively, even though they've had I don't know, they're 3-7-2 in their last 10, so it's not like they're lighting the world on fire, but second worst in the NHL in the month of February in expected goals against, and third worst in scoring chances against. So
Yeah.
pretty smash spot as well. Like from Tampa 1's perspective, we have them going off as like a lot of the top lines tonight are getting their share of ownership. A lot of our top two stacks, partly because there are bargain options available. There's just a lot of like we can talk. We'll get into some of these lines later, but Tampa 1 is one of the few top lines that where you're actually getting a little bit of leverage on the field relative to their ownership share, and they're decently priced, I think, at like 19-1 on DraftKings. So
Yeah, good price. I mean, Palat downgrade for sure because he's not he's not Stamkos. So you lose the top power play correlation, but it's still a good stack. I think as a trio,
yeah,
if Palat can somehow score a goal or have a multi-assist game and just kind of chip
I
in.
mean, this will be the most owned line in the night if Stamkos was there, right?
Yeah, I think pretty much without a doubt. I think Stamkos wasn't priced up too much, and it just looks like the nut spot for Tampa Bay, who's been playing. I mean, they've just been red hot from a real life perspective, and these guys are playing really well. So I think I agree with you. You're probably getting them at a little bit lower ownership than they should be here. Do you like anything on Chicago, or are you kind of with me in that you're not playing a ton of them?
I think I'm with you. I got 0 in my last crunch, so
Yeah. I think they're just due to not generate much offense. I think they had under 30 shot attempts in the Blues game at 5-on-5. Like, they've been really efficient at times, and they can do that with Taves and Kane, especially, mostly Kane. Like, they can create a ton of plays, but I think more often than not, they don't really score too much here or generate a lot of chances at the very least. Hedman at 6,800. We'll talk about some other top defensemen tonight. He's probably up there just because with the massive total. But that price is kind of ridiculous for a guy that has not been great with peripheral numbers this season.
yeah, I'm gonna go elsewhere tonight.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like my Tampa lineups, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of Hedman one-offs. I think if he does get there, maybe he has a game with the combo meal or something like that. But he hasn't had many of those games. $6,200 on FanDuel, if that's the price, if that's what Hunter's referring to in YouTube chat, then
Nice.
maybe that's a better price over there for sure. FanDuel's pricing is just in general softer.
Softer.
What
Yeah.
about Keith at 4,400? You had a really good call on him the other night.
Was he good? I
He
forgot to even check.
he was good.
Damn, 22 points,
Yeah.
22 DFS points. Yeah, 27 minutes a game. Checked up his power play numbers again today. He's getting about 80% of the time. He's even getting some time with second power play unit. So, what's his price point at here?
4,400.
Not bad. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I think it's a fine play to go to. Just playing that many minutes for that price might be able to get you the block shot bonus and maybe chip in elsewhere. All right, let's go to the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. 3.5 implied total for the Leafs, 3.4 for the Panthers. This one is listed as a 7 total with a little bit of juice to the under on most books. So it's kind of the premier game of the night. It looks like ownership all the way around. Do we need to be aware of any news and notes here?
Yeah, so if you read the live blog right after we published today, I just corrected a note in there. I must be blind. Jason Spetz is listed on the top unit with Matthews and Marner. We don't have any confirmation of that, as you were we were talking a little bit about this before we got on here. Doesn't look like any beat writers tweeted it out. Don't think they had a skate this morning. They did go to these combos last game, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stick with them. So a lot of people are going to be having Jason Spezza in their Matthews and Marner lineup. So you're going to want to watch line rushes here to see if Zach Hyman is back up there or what's going on, because if he's not, that's pretty huge edge in a really good spot.
Yeah, it changes the entire price point of the line. So I'm just going to go with whatever is at whatever they're showing in pregame skate. The Leafs beat writers are usually pretty good about that. So I think it's more likely it's going to be flopped. I think we're going to see Hyman with Matthews and Marner. That's what they did the majority of last game. I know they won in Tampa. It was a huge win. Maybe there's a chance they go back to Spezza up there. But I'm anticipating it's going to be the other way around. If it's not, if it is what we're showing, then I'll just recrunch. I think I'll have more than enough time in the 20 minutes or so prior to lock. So it's not a big deal. This game is at 7 Eastern. You'll know about 6:35 Eastern, 6:40, I would say at the latest. So you'll have time to react, but just be aware of who actually is on that that Matthews Marner line, because I think that's probably my favorite one to stack. On the Florida side, I have interest in both of the top two lines. It's really hard not to in a 7 total game. Leafs losing Muzzin. I don't know if you mentioned that, but
yes,
really
sorry, I forgot to
depleted.
mention that. So it looks like I don't know who you think the biggest benefactor is. I know in our projections it's Justin Hull, who grades out as a great value today. Dermott moves up to the top pairing with him, also super cheap. The guy I kind of had my eye on, but maybe you can talk me off him, is Rasmus Sundin, who also gets the power play 2 time and should be deployed in a fairly offensive manner with on a pairing with Tyson Barrie at the bare min.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for a bunch of these guys. I mean, Sandin only saw 15 minutes last night. If you bump him up, somewhere closer to 20, like he has offensive ability and he's just mid salary and maybe getting the second power play time. If these designations are correct, I like Hull as well. 2,700 for him. So you've got a couple options. You could probably even make a case for Dermott at 2,500. Bunch of value on the Leafs blue line, but I think it's just going to make them worse defensively. They already weren't great defensively. They'd been struggling. Tyson Barrie at under 5K seems like a really good value as well. One of the better power play 1 quarterbacks on the slate. We know Florida has their struggles defensively, and then I don't know. I really love Florida 1. The ownership on them I think is a little bit out of hand. What is the top stack tool saying about them?
Top stack tool has them at 12% chance of being a top 2 stack on the night, 16% ownership. Similar numbers for Toronto 1 with Spezza getting about a 17% ownership share. So both of these lines going over-owned, and that's actually really rare for some of the top price lines on the slate. I guess they're not top price lines. That's why. But we're just. The problem is, of course, this tool doesn't factor in value, right? So if you're getting like an even odds, then you're also getting value. Then you can also find leverage points elsewhere, right? Sure. So it's not necessarily a reason to be off them.
No, it's not an end all be all, but it is a nice look, comprehensive look at the slate that I definitely look at every day. So I take that stuff into account. I mean, it's just hard to get an edge playing this Panthers line. Like I like Montreal 1 about as much as Florida 1 when I just look at matchups and stuff. I think the Barkov line is probably going to have their hands full with Matthews and Marner. It's not like a spot where you expect them to run over anyone, but it does look like a good spot nonetheless for Florida 1. So I don't think I'm going to get to the field on them, but oddly enough, I think they're probably going to be one of my higher owned stacks just based on the way I play. I might get to double digits on them, but I don't know if I'm getting to like 15, 16% where we have on them.
Fair.
Secondary lines, Tavares, Nylander, that line's been really good they were really good with Kerfoot. They've just been really good as a duo, so you can certainly go to them. Hall line.
Yeah, Tavares with Hyman most of last year was pretty good, right?
Yeah, and then Tavares with Nylander this year too.
And like we saw yesterday with the late Donskoy news, like a lot of people will focus on fixing their top line. Don't be afraid to go down to that second line as well if something happens, right? Like, and then we saw that last night with Donskoy going with Compher and who else was it?
Compher and Nichushkin. Yeah, we thought Nichushkin was down at the second line and Donskoy up to the top. Yeah, so that was a disaster. I mean, it was one tweet, and then they started the game.
Did they? I didn't even notice that. I noticed that, but Donskoy had Donskoy was back on that line.
Was he?
I don't know what happened. I just saw the full line goal actually. Okay. So maybe it didn't work out.
I know that
I'm making the opposite point I think I'm making.
No, the beat was incorrect about the lines, like based on how they started the game. So that was fun. I switched.
Who's that? Adrian Dater?
I don't even know who it was, but I like the Tavares line over the Panthers 2. If I could just have one. Panthers 2 struggled in their first game. Not saying they're not going to be good, but I think they're going to be pretty weak defensively, and the Tavares line has been really awesome offensively. Anyone on the blue line you want to mention for the Panthers? Kind of went over the
I think like Yandel just in Florida 1 stacks isn't bad. He's pretty cheap. Hasn't done anything in a while. Probably going to go overlooked. Full power play 1 stack. Yep. Why not?
That's really the only guy I'm getting to.
Ekblad grades out as a great value for us, actually.
Yeah. I always forget to mention Ekblad. I always play a little bit of him, but I'll have some Ekblad shares probably as well. More of a one-off guy because they just refuse to put him on the top power play. So kind of difficult. let's go to the next game, Dallas and Boston. 2.2 implied total for the Bruins, 2.2 for the Stars, 3 for the Bruins. Ben Bishop and Yaroslav Halak are your goalies. What are the new pieces here?
Yeah, so it looks like Kasha's going to debut for the Bruins on the second line with Krejci and trying to think here, Ritchie, Charlie Coyle between DeBrusque and Bjork. Also, Charlie Coyle up on the top power play unit. DeBrusque no longer there. Dallas looks like they're all the same.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas not a team that I'm going to have much of tonight, if any. Going into Boston, one of the most brutal matchups, especially for the line that I'd be interested in playing, the Sagan Ben line. Probably going to get Bergeron, no thanks, on a 10-game slate there. I know it's worked out here and there, targeting against Boston one. I think more it's overplayed though. Even when teams are priced down going into Boston, I basically just want to avoid that. I like Boston one. Everybody loves Boston one always. It's just a matter of whether or not you can play them, whether or not you can actually make good projecting lineups with them, and then good lineups that project or lineups that project well that also aren't going to be overowned, like combos. So as always with Boston one, just be aware of who you're playing them with. If you use up the entire 50K salary and you like every piece of your lineup with Boston one, you probably have a lineup that's going to be duped on a 10 game.
You have Ottawa one in there, then
yeah, exactly. So just be careful with that. I'm not saying you can't play Ottawa one, but just get a little bit different with your defenseman or your goalie, or just do something to differentiate yourself, especially when you play Boston one. It's not like that great of a spot for them, but they just always deserve to be in the conversation just based on how good they are. Empty net situations for them is always massive. If they ever play a close game, you see them all of a sudden become the nuts in the third period because they score to go ahead, and then they're on the ice. Bergeron and Marchand and Pasternak are on the ice in the empty net situations as well. So they're a brutal fade always. With all that being said, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of Boston 1 tonight.
Fair.
What about Boston 2 with Kasha up there?
I don't hate it. Yeah, don't hate it.
I like the way Coyle's been playing. I like his line mates. So I'm probably even going to get to some Boston 3 as well. But with the low total here and how much Boston scoring is concentrated on the top line, and just Dallas being a team that slows it down, someone's going to have to see the Faxa line, which I have a decent amount of respect for. I don't know, nothing more than just secondary plays, Boston 2 and 3 for me. So I'm hoping this game stays under the radar on a 10-game slate, but you can just never feel comfortable until the end when that Boston 1 fade is over. Anything you want to mention in this game? Any defensemen?
Nah, I think Boston 1 as a pay up to be contrarian spot's pretty good here. They're not getting any ownership tonight. So anytime it's not a great matchup, and they're insanely expensive, but probably like far and away the best leverage play on the slate. So. Yeah,
that's the problem. I guess the way I like to play it is like double stacking. So if I could get away with that and make a chunk of Boston 1 lineups with like 3-2-1, and identify some values, like there's probably a good way to do it to get over the field on Boston 1. I just don't know if I'm interested in allocating all that salary in a bunch of my lineups in my portfolio. So probably going to not have a great night if Boston 1 goes nuts here. Vancouver and Ottawa, your favorite game of the night. 3.6 implied total for the Canucks, 2.9 for the Senators. Thatcher Demko expected to go against Marcus Hogberg. What do we got here? New lines, it looks like, on Ottawa's side.
Yeah, so very cheap top line for Ottawa as Bobby Ryan and Josh Norris call up from the AHL, who was in their Erik Karlsson trade, a former first-round pick, has 30 goals in the AHL this year, so no, by no means a scrub. Also, full power play correlation, 2 guys at the bare min. Value plays don't get much better than this, but of course, DFSers aren't exactly. DFSers are a pretty sharp group these days, so we're looking at them as just going way over owned. and they might actually be a good fade tonight. I'm kind of leaning towards the fade now that I look at this. A lot of variables and as well, just Norris playing his first game, Ryan first game back. So
Yeah, I mean, there's always a reason to fade when you get one of the chalkier lines, especially when you don't know what to expect from Norris, Ryan, and Kachuk. I don't think they're going to be a great defensive line. They don't even have the highest total in this game either. So price is a thing, though. They do make everything work. And so I'm getting to a lot of them. I haven't decided yet what I really want to do with them. Maybe if they can avoid significant time against the Pedersen, Toffoli, and JT Miller line, I think they've got a pretty good chance to generate some offense. And I think just almost a 3 implied total. They're all in the top power play. They're probably factoring in, and we don't talk about value too much, but they're probably going to be okay. I don't think they're going to kill a lot of your lineups unless Ottawa gets shut out or held to one random goal. So they're probably going to factor in somehow. It's just a matter of can they be a top 3 or 4 scoring line, and you can find the extra or the other line or the other combination of players that does work elsewhere. So I get that they're going to be over-owned a little bit, but I'm still in on them. I still think they're going to be one of my higher exposed lines. It's just really hard to fit, really hard to get away with them, to get away from them based on how much they make work tonight.
Yeah. See, I think maybe going for the fade here is just like there's a pretty good case to be made for the fade, though, right?
For sure. No, I mean, if you're you're doing 20 lineups tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're doing 20 lineups tonight, going underweight on them, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem going underweight on really anyone ever. There's usually a case to be made. But if they were going to be like 30% owned, then I would have to, I would probably end up getting off them because you're just going to be duped. But they just open up so much. Maybe some people don't know about Norris. I think anybody with projections is going to have Ottawa 1 near the top of their list. And then Kachuk's just awesome. But he's almost 7K. It doesn't really matter, though, when the rest of his line mates are basically free. So,
and that's also another reason why I think I like Boston 1 tonight, because I'll bet you of the 3% of Boston 1 lineups, if that's the case, I'll bet you 2% of them have Ottawa 1 in there. So you're really it opens up a lot of really unique possibilities for your stacks if you actually want to go that route. Not saying that you need to get too much, but if you can find some different low price stacks that you like, it's an even greater advantage, I think, to rostering Boston 1 tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I think on the majority of my Boston 1 lineups, if I thought it was a great spot, I think the majority of mine would not be with Ottawa 1, just because that 6-man forward group is so likely to be owned together, even if they both look low owned. It's just going to be a combo that everyone gets to that uses an optimizer, maybe not even uses an optimizer, just jams in. What about the Canucks side here? Seems like a pretty good spot for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a pretty good spot. I've been kind of trying to fade the Canucks a little bit here, just with that Markstrom news. Obviously, that doesn't affect the skaters, but somebody in chat asked JT Miller one-off. I don't tend to play him as a one-off. I'm more of a stack him up with the rest of Vancouver too. But I mean, I guess he's a goal scorer, so it's not the worst idea in the world. But yeah, I like the Vancouver side of this one. I don't think it's expensive and it's not going under-owned or anything. So I certainly am not crazy about him. What about you?
I love the Vancouver side here. The ownership looks good. They are a little bit overpriced compared to some of these other lines. This Vancouver 2 line especially, they're a little bit pricey. Everyone at least 6K or above. And then Pedersen 7K. So you look at him individually, it's not the greatest play, but if you factor in line stats, how good Pedersen and Miller have been this season with whoever, whether it's Besser, Virtanen, I think Toffoli's going to fit in pretty nicely.
Toffoli has just killing it right now.
Yeah, and now he's playing with real players, and I think this is going to be a really good line long term. So I'm just in on them, and Ottawa takes a ton of penalties. They're all correlated on the power play. They just got a lot going for them, in my mind. You could also mix in Horvat instead of Pedersen if you want, or in addition to Vancouver 2. There's some merit in playing Vancouver 1 just for dirt cheap. I really love the Vancouver side. I hope it goes overlooked like we have it going right now.
Yeah, you raise a great point, and I will side with you there as always. Very low ownership for that
Mhm.
line.
And it
So
looks like straight up, it looks like we're wrong right away. But then when you factor in some of these other lines, it is a 10-game slate, so ownership's
yeah,
usually pretty flat unless there's just an obvious misprice here. Um,
second highest implied total on the slate as well. So yeah, like good catch or good call on that one. I think it's probably a really smart play tonight.
yeah, I think the even strength matchup is going to be pretty good. I wouldn't expect Norris, Ryan, Kachuk line to be great
And we're
defensively.
we're st- we're stacking them with Quinn Hughes, right?
5,500 for Hughes.
What? Why are you guys such big
No,
Quinn Hughes
no,
haters?
I'm not a Quinn
You
Hughes
and
hater.
Cliffy?
In fact, he has like 50 points this year. I saw that's kind of
Guys,
crazy.
ridiculous.
That yeah. So he's like the first rookie
Four
defenseman to do
shots. I
that.
mean, maybe it was like earlier on in the season when he wasn't
Yeah,
doing as much, but man, he's getting way more ice time now.
yeah. No, I don't have a problem with Hughes. He's still not in that tier at 5,500. What I would learn to play, or I would want to play him as a one-off. But
Yep.
5,500, if you're going in on this Vancouver heavy stack and you're going for the onslaught or power play stack, yeah, he's the guy. So it makes sense for that reason. And it's not like I'm playing Troy Stetcher or I don't even know these other clowns. So Shabbat on the other side, 5,500, and Mike Riley. I've been playing a bunch of Mike Riley lately for 3,500 bucks, and I kind of like it here again.
You and Bots, man.
Yeah, Mike Riley, the goat. He is playing a lot more minutes. He's being active with those minutes, and then Shabbat has played 30 plus minutes in his last two games. So uh, if you're going to Ottawa one, like I don't know why you wouldn't mix in Shabbat in some of those stacks. Let's go to Minnesota and Detroit. 3.3 implied total for the Wild. 2.3 for the Red Wings. Alex Stalock and Jimmy Howard are your goalies. And looks like no Robbie Fabry for the Red Wings. What else we got?
Oh, is that right? I didn't. He was listed as on there earlier. So is this just recent news?
I think he's out.
Yeah, he's out. Do we have Detroit lines then, or are we just?
Larkin, Mantha, Perlini is what we've got on the screen. Filppula, Bertuzzi, and Gagne.
Cool. I will update that right
Sure.
now. In the live blog, I think everything is the same on the Minnesota side. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
It's the same as last game. So, I mean, I thought Minnesota would see a bunch of ownership here just because it's going up against Detroit. They're really not that highly owned. People are going to the top teams, and it's not like DK did a great job of pricing anyone up. The line that I want to take some stabs at on the Minnesota side is the Eriksson, Greenway, and Parise line. Eriksson and Greenway have played really well together. A lot of time with Foligno. Now you get offensive player in Parise. I know his contract's bad or whatever, but this is a really good price on this Minnesota line that probably won't have to face a lot of Larkin and Mantha. It's not the end of the world to face Larkin and Mantha. I still think the Stahl line is fine, but you're getting them for cheaper. You get Parise on the top power play, and the Eriksson and Greenway are just playing really well, and they didn't take a step back at all with Parise in the last game. So I like Minnesota 2, we're going to call them. They're 2 on the screen. Some might consider that the third line, but I really, really like that line tonight.
Minnesota 2.
Eriksson, Greenway, Parise. Lock it in.
They're not on my radar. Eriksson, Green. Is that a new combo?
They played one game together last game. So what do we like?
Sounds good to me.
Anything else on the Detroit side? Looks like Perlini's on the top power play for min salary. I think if you're going to Detroit, it's probably Detroit 1 or nothing, but they're really expensive against a good defensive team in the Wild. Like Larkin and Mantha up over 7K.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult for me
good,
to get to a lot of them.
Good fade. Madison Bowie as well. Just that 5-day period where we could use them, I think, is over.
I thought I saw Hronik was out. Is that not correct?
No, I think he's in the top power play unit, but he'll be in action versus Minnesota on Thursday.
I'm thinking of Fabry then. I'm not sure what I'm thinking of there. But yeah, I don't really love anything on the blue line besides, well, I don't love him, but I like Dumba again for 4,900. Brodin's priced at 4,500. He was a punt play a couple weeks ago.
What happened there? He's like bare min for half the season.
Yeah, he's playing decent minutes, but so is Dumba. And just Dumba is a better I think just Dumba's a better play.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, 4,900. He's gone back to what he was doing earlier in the season, but I'm still in on him.
We've been infiltrated by Russian bots again.
I see that. So trying to get rid of them as fast as possible. But who knows what they're going to be talking about in the YouTube chat. Anything else in this game?
No, I'm not super high on it, but I will try to stuff some of that Minnesota 2 in if you're touting them.
All right, let's go to the Islanders and the Blues. 2.4 implied total for the Isles. 3 for the Blues. Thomas Greiss getting the start for the Islanders. Jordan Binnington going for the Blues. Are the Blues going to let up 5 goals again here? What's going on with them?
I don't know, man. That's crazy, right? Islanders still pretty bad defensively, but some pretty good offensive numbers too. So, I'm guessing that's just a one-off. I don't have a problem going back to St. Louis 1 here again. Cliffy tweeted as well that they may go 11-7 today with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. So we will have to wait and see what's going on with line rushes there. Bortuzzo, maybe they have Bortuzzo in on the 4th line right now. So this Thomas Perron Sanford line also, I believe. Let me just double check. Can't remember if it was St. Louis 2 or St. Louis 1, or St. Louis 3, but they got a lot of run together last game as well.
The Bozak line?
Just let me check. I can't remember.
It could be the Robert Thomas line. Just talking about last game, Sanford had another huge performance. He's been quietly just going nuts. He's got this huge upside.
Matchbox 20?
Yeah, the Robert Thomas Sanford line. So I like the Blues top 6 here. Still a believer in this O'Reilly Schwartz Shen line. You're getting a pretty good price on them. Barzal line is not super strong defensively. They're going to probably get that matchup most of the game. But let's not forget about St. Louis 2 either. I know you shouldn't forget about them after Sanford drops a 40 bomb on DK. But some people will probably see the low total and go elsewhere. It's not like a fantastic price. They're 13-2. Yeah, 13-2.
13-2.
And they're probably going to see a bunch of time against Isles 2 and Isles 3. So that seems like a pretty good spot for me. I've been waiting for this Blues explosion, and maybe I missed out on it against the Hawks with this St. Louis 2 line. But I'm going back to the top 6 here. I don't like much of anything on the Islander side.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Do you agree? Do you disagree with that?
No, I just noticed Islanders 1's getting 0 ownership when we still have them at a 5% chance of being one of the top 2 stacks. So it's not a bad GPP play, I think, going to Islanders 1.
I think let's see if I got to any of them. I like to roll out my lineups like I would if the slate started at 4 Eastern when we go on the show, just to have a better idea of where I'm going to be at. I got to one Barzal Lee Everlay share out of my 150. So I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
They're a great line.
Coming in underweight,
they're awesome. But a really, really tough spot. I don't see a lot of ways that they get it done here. So Pietrangelo is 7K tonight. We haven't even talked about the other 7K defensemen on this slate. We've got a few more to talk about, but
2018-19 all over again, man.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't have a ton of love for him in that spot. And same thing with Parayko at 5,800. His price is skyrocketed recently after he's been playing really well. Nothing really left in this game unless you want to add anything.
Nope.
All right. Calgary, Nashville, 2.9 implied total for the Flames, 3.1 for the Preds. David Riddick and UC Saros expected to go for the Preds. What do we like here? What do we see here? Anything we need to note first?
Yeah, just that Nick Bonino is back centering the Nashville's 4th line, I guess, with Granlund and Forsberg flanking him. I don't know if these will stick or not, but man, it's just such an ugly combo. I don't know. I don't understand why you wouldn't just put Bonino right back on that line with Smith and Grimaldi.
Wait, you're seeing hold up. You're seeing Bonino back in with who? Yeah, I'm not questioning the validity. I'm just
Granlund and Forsberg.
Granlund and Forsberg. Okay, we're showing something different on the screen, but it looks like everything's messed up. Maybe that's going to update.
Yeah, no. Yeah, maybe they just no. Oh yeah, maybe they just changed them. Maybe Benino was late ruled out.
Okay, we'll figure this out.
Right before the show, he was listed as going. But
Fair enough. I don't really like much on the Pred side. I think these lines are brutal for the Nashville side, and they're not really sticking together. Who knows what they'll do? They're desperate. They're trying to battle for a playoff spot. It's just been a really up and down year, and mostly down for them. But they do have a chance, I guess, to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I love the way the Backlund line's been playing. Problem is, I don't think it's a fantastic spot for them. I might be taking some stabs at the Monahan, Gaudreau, Lindholm line because they are fully correlated on the power play, because Nashville has a terrible kill. So that's kind of the flyer I'm taking here. I'm assuming they're probably a little bit under-owned in the top stack tool when we look at it. But that's really all I like from a forwards perspective here. I can't really get behind playing more than a few shares of any of these Nashville lines.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've just been fading Nashville all season long, and I don't think that's going to change tonight.
Yeah. What about Yossi? I'll ask you about him. People don't want to hear me talk about him.
Let's check out his recent numbers here.
They're bad.
So,
I mean, the game logs are bad. He's not being as active in the recent games. I don't know. Maybe he's just having a rough stretch here, or I'm not sure what's going on with him, to be honest. But
could just be variance, like 7 shots 2 games ago, 5 shots game before that.
Is it the points that are just not there?
He just doesn't have any points. So.
Okay.
Maybe it depends on if people are getting sick of playing them. This might be a good spot to jump back on.
I mean, people were soured on Burns like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. But now I'm sure like Burns' ownership will dwarf his tonight. Let me just pull up our ownership projections.
I think it's about 3x. We've got Burns projected for about 3 times the ownership as Yossi on the prior update. So if it's there, if you're just talking about a 1v1 here, Yossi's not 3 times less likely to outscore Burns, if you think about it like that. So I think there's some merit in playing Yossi tonight just as a one-off guy. I'm doing it a bunch. He's not going to be higher owned than Burns for me because I'm playing 150. But I still think he is a perfectly fine play. Just got a ton of upside even if the Preds only score a couple goals here. Like, he's had fine games by just doing the peripheral stuff, getting the shots and the blocks. So I'm still in on him. I don't think anything's wrong with him. Just kind of a rough stretch here. Fade Yossi for all the money. I mean, that's worked the last couple of games, but you still got to pick the right guys after that. What else do we got here? Giordano, is he going to play?
Yeah, he's game time decision, so keep an eye on that one. I don't know about you, but I kind of like Calgary 1 in this spot, actually. Nashville hasn't been great defensively this year. They own one of the worst PKs in the league. Is it getting better now, or they were dead last for a while?
No, they're still down there.
Oh, right. I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, so they're third last in the NHL, which, if Giordano doesn't go, I think you can pop on Gustafsson with some confidence. If he does go, I still think Gustafsson's not a bad play on the power play 1. And this line, Calgary's been really good lately. They lead the NHL over the past month in expected goals for, scoring chances for. They've quietly returned, maybe not quietly, but people are probably starting to notice, but they are the team that I think we got accustomed to watching a little bit last year, or certainly were able to go to in DFS. Yep. So going to be overweight on Calgary 1 and probably Calgary 2 tonight.
Yeah, I really like the top line, so I'm with you there. Like, their numbers recently, if you go by the last 15, 20 games, I mean, they look like one of the better lines. So I'm in on them here in a low-owned spot, and definitely a good power play spot if they can get a few opportunities here against this awful kill. Let's go to the Caps and the Jets. 3.5 implied total for the Caps, 3 for the Jets. Ilya Samsonov and Connor Hellebuck are your goalies. And what do we have new here?
Yeah, it looks like the Jets shuffled last game, so Shafley between Wheeler and Connor, Eakin between Line and Ehlers, Kopp, Roslovich, Harkins. So some weird new combos there for the Jets. I guess really you're looking at mainly this top line, which also has the full power play correlation. But, maybe the second line comes in not very well owned. Washington should be just about the same.
Yeah, I think I want on the Jets side. For the most part, I want the Scheifele line. We don't really know who's gonna go with who on the Jets side. They swapped last game. Harkins started up there. The Jets team actually just tweeted out. The team account just tweeted out that that it was back Scheifele, Wheeler, and Harkins, and then it was I think Connor and Kopp and Line. I can't remember what it was, but it was what they did at the start of last game. So it also said subject to change. So who knows what it's actually going to be? But I like the Scheifele line. I think they're going to see whoever he's with, probably Scheifele, Wheeler, and someone. You could still go Connor. You could probably go Line for the power play. But I think that line's going to get the favorable matchup against Kuznetsov, Ovi, and Wilson. That line was very giving defensively last game. They were really good offensively. You'd expect a similar performance here. And I think go back to Caps 1 or Caps power play here. But I really like the Winnipeg 1 side here. So I'm probably going to be over on them. You've got Caps 2 with Backstrom there. Probably makes them better offensively. I mean, with Kuznetsov, Verana, and Oshie, they were just bad at generating chances at 5-on-5, but at least they're fully correlated now. I just have a hard time playing a ton of Backstrom without getting Ovechkin in there for the power play because there's such big parts of it. And same thing with Carlson. So I like the Winnipeg side here. I'm not soured on the Capitals, but I definitely don't think I'm going to like them as much as the field does.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Like, it's just kind of it's a good spot, but I don't know. I'm just not excited about playing them. The price is decent. The ownership is decent. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm not getting it much, but yeah.
Like if they're gonna be, if they're like significantly higher owned than Vancouver 2, Washington 1 is, and I don't think there's that much difference between those two. If you look at the center, no, if you look at the centers, compared to each other without giving away too many numbers.
Yeah, and also way better leverage play for Vancouver.
Yeah, so like everyone knows this is a good spot for the Capitals. They're like everybody loves playing Ovechkin, and I do too, but I feel like I'm never as high on him as everyone else because whether it's his line mates, like he's more suitable as a one-off, and with my style of play, I don't play a lot of one-off. So
yeah, sorry, you're right. I was looking at the wrong numbers there. Big ownership gap.
All good. Any defensemen we want to mention here?
I don't know, man. I mean, Pionk in your Winnipeg 1 stacks is totally fine.
Yeah.
Carlson, 7,300.
Yeah, I'm not getting too much Carlson, and I think I'm okay with that. Pionk at 5K. It would be more like a Hughes thing, where if I'm going to Winnipeg 1, you add in Pionk. If not, I think I'm okay getting away from playing him as a one-off outside of a couple random situations. But let's go to the last game of the night. We've got the Devils and the Sharks. Actually, before we head out, I see a bunch of people watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys could drop us a like, that would be very much appreciated. We are also going to be on podcasts. A lot of our live streams that you see on YouTube and Twitch, wherever you watch, will be on podcast going forward. So we're doing a giveaway to kind of celebrate this and make you guys aware. All you have to do is subscribe to our channel using the link on this tweet. And here's the link to the tweet. You already put it in there?
Put it in.
There you go. Well, there's the original tweet as well. Rate and review the channel. Put your Awesemo username or Twitter handle. Some way we can contact you in your review. And then give us 5 stars. And you got a chance to win a free Awesemo Plus monthly pass for just a couple minutes of your time. Tell us something you like about the shows or just being a subscriber to Awesemo or whatever you want to do. Let's finish it out here. 2.8 implied total for the Devils, 3.2 for the Sharks. Corey Schneider and Martin Jones are your goalies. And, the Sharks are just decimated. They got Couture back last game, but what do we got going on their side?
Yeah, it looks like Evander Kane is out tonight. So Thornton between Gambrell and Meyer. Couture. Oh, is Kane I thought Kane was out.
Kane is not out, as far as I know.
Doing a piss poor job today,
No,
Jake.
good.
I'll tell you that much.
A lot of games to talk about.
Okay, Kane is in. Sorry, Kane with Couture and Noah Gregor. Alexander True between Sorensen and LeBanc tonight. So I don't know. I kind of like the San Jose side of this one, but talk me off them. I guess I just don't know where to go. really. Like, I guess it's one or two, but
Right. So the problem with the Sharks is, well, I don't like their lines very much, but Couture and Kane together is nice. You could manipulate this somehow in Fantasy Cruncher and make just like your favorite guys as the top line or all in one line and just get a good mix of like the LeBancs, Couture, Kane, Timo Meyer type of thing. And so maybe I'm going to experiment doing something like that because I think it's a good spot for the Sharks. 3.2 implied total. And I
I get to blame Cliffy for this one. He had it in there.
Evander Kane. Yeah. He had prior engagements this morning, is what Bot says. So maybe Cliffy didn't go back in and update that, but it's all good. We got it.
Good. We got it fixed.
So I mean, it's kind of a hodgepodge of Sharks forwards here, but I hate playing a ton of a defenseman without getting in some of the forwards because if he has a massive game, if I'm correct on that, like one of these lines is probably going to do pretty well, and they're all really cheap. I think Kane, Couture, Timo, LeBanc are all too cheap for this spot. Going up against the Devils, who take a bunch of penalties, you're getting a ton of power play time for Burns. It just seems silly for me to not have a bunch of Sharks here. So I'm gravitating towards the Couture-Kane duo and add in LeBanc. You can add in Gregor or whatever you want to do there. But I do love the Sharks here. And then I like the spot for the Devils as well. Hischier Hughes and Palmieri. It looks like they're getting really low ownership. I'm not really sure why. I know you can only have so many spots that people can play a bunch. But it looks pretty good to me against a really weak Sharks defensive team. All fully correlated as well. Sharks are taking a bunch of penalties. Burns is their best. Burns going to play a ton of minutes. We know he's not super gifted defensively. So I kind of like Devils 1 here as well.
Very democratic of you.
Yeah. I try not to say too many bad things about players, and they end up scoring hat tricks. Although I wouldn't be too mad if Burns decided to hattie tonight.
Yeah, I can certainly see the case for going to New Jersey tonight. I think that makes. I don't think they're going to get much ownership. Seems like a pretty good price and a pretty good spot. So probably going to start and stop with New Jersey 1 tonight, unless maybe this like Zaka Brat line is, not the worst line in the world. I don't know.
No, we talked about them, and I mean they're going to get some really quality matchups. Maybe they play more as a second line. With Zaka and Brat and Gusev. I think it is a big slate, but
they're priced down a little bit too. So
yeah, if you toss them into a couple lineups, like maybe that's like a team you want to go to, or that's a line you want to go to with Boston 1. A fraction of the ownership of
I like that
like an Ottawa 1 or something like that. Brat can't stop scoring now. He has been scoring more this season. Like I remember last year, the year before, he was almost unplayable because he never shot the puck. But he is doing some scoring, and they're going to get really quality matchups. So I don't think that's the worst play in the world, honestly, New Jersey 3, especially when you're talking about just pure punts. I think that's all we got. Anything more to add on before we head out of here?
What are you doing with Brent Burns? You just going all in?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I didn't make that clear enough. But yeah, I'm playing a ton of Burns. I'm probably going to be closer to 50% of my lineups will have Burns. And I'm pretty comfortable with that. He's just demonstrated such a good floor, and he hasn't really had like a 35 point, 40 point ceiling game, like where he gets the bonuses and the 3-point bonus and stuff like that. But he's scored near 30 a bunch of times. It's odd he hasn't scored 30 on DK this season, but maybe that's coming here. I'm not exactly sure. He looks like about the safest play on the slate for 15 or so points. With the upside for double that. So yeah, I'm just hammering him. I'm completely back in. So just an ownership thing with Burns, as it has been recently. So that's why I do like playing some Yossi, and I will be looking to late swap off of Burns. If you're if a guy in front of you does have Burns in his lineup, the salary indicates that Burns is his final spot. Maybe you want to swap to a lesser player, swap to a Severson if you're up near the top of a tournament, because you're playing to win, right? You're not playing to tie or get third place or second place. So I'll be looking to do some of that because this game does start 2.5 hours later than any other game on the slate. Hopefully I'm live and I have these decisions to make, but we'll see. So that's really all I got for today. We got through that in just over an hour. It looks like, just under an hour. But thanks everyone for joining. Go check out the live blog. That's going to be free for today. We'll unlock that if you could do that, Nolan, and make that
It's already
free.
unlocked.
All
And
right,
it will be corrected
beautiful.
with all the right info very shortly.
There you go. So everything we said, you'll kind of get a summary of that. Get in premium Slack. Use promo code NHL Strategy to get 50% off your first week of any Awesemo Plus weekly pass. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports for sponsoring us. Go play over there. Get in their NHL contest. They are filling fast. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points over on Yahoo. And it will be myself, possibly Cliffy tomorrow. We'll see.
Sounds like it, yeah.
All right. There you go. It might be a two-man show. Sounds like it's going to be. Good luck tonight, everyone. And I will catch you tomorrow.